Hey, everybody, listen to our latest episode where Lauren and I talk about a lot of celebrity illness, a lot of celebrity deaths, and parasites. Interesting, cool stuff, and some of my own experience with parasites. Check it out. Are we live, Lauren Taylor?
We are live, Dr. Cohen.
We're live with Gross Anatomy Podcast, where we explore the sights, smells, and sounds of medicine, how it relates to movies, TV, books, pop culture, podcasts, and the world around us. And I am Dr. Jason Cohen.
And I'm Lauren Taylor. And today we don't have a guest, but we have a lot of entertainment news that's been piling up.
A lot of entertainment news, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of it is celebrity deaths.
A lot of bad stuff.
There's also some parasites in there at the end, a non-death.
Love parasites and non-death.
You want to just get right into the first one, the one that hit me the hardest?
Let's go right in. Let's dig in. And I probably have stuff that maybe you don't even know about, but go ahead. Let's dig right in. Let's hear.
All right. So Catherine O'Hara died, and then they released her cause of death, that it was a pulmonary embolism, or as you might know it, PE. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, sure. PE, pulmonary embolism. Yeah.
But as a doctor, would you just say, "Oh, she had a PE," or would you? Yeah. Okay.
As a doctor, we would definitely say PE. And what that basically is it's a blood clot that goes to the lung.
Mm-hmm. But then like they wrote an underlying cause was rectal cancer. So I read, and I mean, maybe you experience this with patients that have cancer, that this could affect them more. Is that true? Or be a reason that they die?
This is a good medical episode, Lauren Taylor. So there's something called Virtue's Triad that somehow I remember from medical school, which is who is prone to developing PEs, or pulmonary embolisms, or blood clots in the lung, or clots in any part of their body. You know, you hear about people on airplanes who develop blood clots in their legs, or long car rides. So that's one of Virtue's Triad, is stasis, not moving. So immobility. So someone who's in bed in the hospital, not moving for a long time, someone who's not moving on a long plane ride, on a long car ride, potentially is prone to getting a blood clot. So that's one type. The other thing is injury. So someone who's had trauma to their legs or arms or something like that, the blood vessels can get damaged and irritated. And because the veins are damaged and irritated, potentially the blood may clot there, and that clotted blood then could potentially break off and travel to the lung too. So, and then the third one is malignancy, cancers. So people who have cancer tend to, for whatever reason, tend to be what's called hypercoagulable, which is a fancy word for they tend to clot for whatever reasons. Their blood tends to clot. There are probably certain tumor factors that cause the blood to clot. And if the blood clots, it could either clot directly in the lung or in a leg or an arm. And then that little bit of clot breaks off from the leg or the arm, travels to the bloodstream in the lung, and then causes the potential, the pulmonary embolism, or PE, which could lead, if untreated or severe, could lead to death.
Could it lead to instant death? Like you just clot.
If it's a major giant blood clot that goes to one of the main blood vessels of the lung, it'll just shut off the heart won't be able to function, and someone could die pretty quick. But if it's a smaller one, that might present with a patient may have some chest pain. Sometimes when you take deep breaths, their oxygen levels may be low, all that sort of thing.
So that's something cancer patients should know if they have these symptoms, or to look up the symptoms of PE and go to the hospital right away and say that you feel like you might be experiencing these symptoms.
Yeah. Or if you've been on a long car ride or a long trip and you notice like your calf is tender and you're having shortness of breath, maybe that happened too. And sometimes we hear it. Yeah. And then someone with cancer may have a few reasons why they're going to get a blood clot, because A, they have cancer and they're they tend to clot, but B, they're sick and maybe lying around. So they have two reasons to potentially. So cancer patients, especially undergoing treatment, or any patient in general, that's why we always tell our patients after surgery to get up and move and walk, and don't just sit around and don't just lay around. That's one of the big things that we tell our patients.
I mean, yeah, I've heard that, but I didn't ever put that together until just now. But that's
Yeah,
why you want
that
them
is
walking. Okay.
that is the reason why we want them moving and walking, for A, for the blood clot issue, but B, also for um, lungs, for breathing, for all that stuff. It's really important.
Yeah, so I guess Catherine O'Hara was at pretty high risk because apparently it affects people over 62 more.
Hmm.
And she died at 71. But it also said, I mean, have you treated anybody with rectal cancer? Is that something that you've ever?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
It's a form of colon cancer. The rectum is the end of the colon. But yeah, it's a very common form of colon cancer. Treated a zillion patients with rectal cancer. These days, I have two colorectal partners, so they deal with most of that. But I still do, and I'll still assist them. But for years, I used to do a lot of it.
Have you been seeing more of it lately? Like I keep
Well,
hearing certain cancers are on the rise, like
yeah,
colorectal cancers.
colorectal cancer seems to be on the rise, and I don't know if people are just living longer and around more. Overall, we have just more people around, or is it truly on the rise too? I think it's a little bit of both.
Mm.
Um, I think, unfortunately, to a big degree, we as humans don't necessarily eat well, except if you're in the blue zones. And so I think a lot of it is diet and processed foods, and not eating enough fruits and vegetables, and maybe eating too many animals. It's hard to say for sure, but it's a common cancer, and it does seem like it's on the rise, because we're going to talk about some other people in the news too with it.
I wanted to say something else about Catherine O'Hara because it was.
Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice.
I know. Oh, I'm gonna miss her. I love Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice,
Yeah,
Beetlejuice, and the original Beetlejuice.
yeah,
And Home Alone, favorite holiday
yes,
movies.
yes.
And Schitt's Creek, obviously. But she had, I'm gonna probably say this wrong, situs inversus with dextrocardia.
Yeah,
Dextrocardia.
yeah, that was great, Lauren Taylor. Great pronunciation. Situs inversus,
And
which is
situs
just
inversus.
a fancy word for her organs were totally reversed. Normally the liver should be on the right, and the spleen is on the left, and rarely people could have complete sinus reverses and everything is opposite. And so it sounds like her heart was also, it sounds like in her case, everything was reversed. And that's really rare, and it's pretty cool. And as a doctor, it's really interesting to see. You get an x-ray of someone
Mhm.
and you're like, huh, your x-ray's backwards. And then you realize, no, this person is backwards inside. And you
Yeah.
learn about it. It's pretty rare. Occasionally we see like some things reversed, but I'm trying to think if I've even actually ever seen it. I've seen like some things being rotated weird, but I don't think I've ever seen a full situs inversus. No way. It's
Oh, I
it's
thought
that
you
rare.
had. Okay. I thought you had for some reason. Yeah, apparently she discovered it 20 years ago from a random TV test. I don't know how they figured it out, like
They
what
probably did
happened.
an X-ray. She probably had an X-ray, and
Yeah.
everything looked backwards. And they're like, "Why is it backwards?" And then they're like, "It's not backwards. You're
Yeah.
backwards inside."
Well, apparently her husband, who was I found out was a production designer on Beetlejuice, probably a really cool guy, thought it was pretty neat. It didn't affect her death at all. Like it shouldn't have
Yeah.
harmed her, right?
As long as you know you have it, you're fine. But if you don't know you have it, and you're doing some procedure on someone, thinking something somewhere and it's not, then potentially you could get into trouble. But as long as you know, then really
Right.
shouldn't be an issue.
Okay. Yeah. So it's just one of those weird kind of gross anatomy type things.
Yeah, super cool, super weird, and at the same time sad.
Yes, sad. But apparently she told that as a happy story that she, found out she had that.
Hmm.
Um, but all right, so we can move into other colorectal cancers. Stage 3. Well, no, is it stage 3 colon cancer? Vanderbeek died of.
Yeah, yeah. So did we already talk about him, or no? I think we talked about him on social media, right? Or did we talk about him on the
Yeah.
podcast?
Well, we talked about him because a while ago I thought naively that he was going to be fine.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't treat him. I don't know the extent of his disease, and
Yeah.
sometimes during COVID time, a lot of people didn't take care of their health because they didn't want to go to the doctor. They didn't want to da da da.
Mhm.
And hospitals weren't even doing things, and elective stuff wasn't happening. So it definitely seemed like during that time there was a rise in stuff because people were neglecting themselves. But so I don't know if he was diagnosed then because he was kind of ignoring things. Who knows? And maybe that's why he didn't do well. Um, it's one of the, nobody wants a colonoscopy. Nobody wants
Mhm.
to have to drink the stuff to clean out your colon and where you poop your brains out. Nobody wants to be pooping their brains out. And then nobody wants, even though you're asleep for it, the thought of, going to sleep and having someone shove a thing up your butt, the reality is it doesn't sound pleasant. The truth is, I've had several, and it's
Mhm.
actually an easy, fine experience. So, and I actually, to some degree, while I don't like drinking the drink, it's kind of a good feeling after you poop your brains out and all you're pooping is water. Like you feel super clean,
Mhm.
um, and you kind of feel healthy and light. And then the colonoscopy, if you're going somewhere where they're, as long as they're not doing it awake, which I think is crazy, as long as they're sedating you, uh, you don't feel a thing. You're there. We put it on my social media.
Right.
We have me going to sleep and recording and watching it. You go to sleep, and the next thing you know, you're waking up from this amazing sleep, and you're just feeling groovy.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. And I think that's important that you've shared that and that people get that. And I think the celebrity death does like raise awareness.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And it's bad, but
mhm.
sometimes it's, unfortunately, you get some good from that because it raises awareness and people talk about it. So I think that's good.
And I guess I'm naive too when I read like stage 3. I'm like, oh, he can probably beat it, but that's not always an
No,
indicator.
sometimes, but the truth is, with colon cancer, occasionally, even stage 4 colon cancer, which means it's spread to far away parts, away, like to other organs. I've seen patients with stage 4 colon cancer still hanging around for years and years and years with great quality of life. So you just never know. Part of it is a lot of times people are afraid of the treatment, and sometimes the treatment is hard and harsh. And the truth is, I don't know how I would feel if, God forbid, I knew I needed chemotherapy, but it works sometimes. And I know, like Steve Jobs, for example, probably would still be alive today if he were willing to undergo standard therapy as opposed to, in his case, trying weird wacky stuff for his what he had.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
And I agree with, and I don't mind the weird wacky stuff, and I love alternative medicine and complementary medicine. I love all that stuff, but I think you got to find the balance and do it all.
Right. Yeah, no, I think that's important, and I like that you talk about that. The
Thank
other,
you.
so the more recent one is that Eric Dane died just last
Yeah, well,
week.
let's talk. Well, there's one more colon. I texted
Which one's
you,
the Poland?
I
Did I
think
miss
this
that?
morning, about Ron Duguay, who, unless you're a big hockey fan, you wouldn't necessarily know who he was. And I, growing up in New York, I was a big hockey fan as a kid. New York Rangers were my team. So Ron Duguay, as a kid, was you know he was a really good player. He wasn't like one of the greats, but he was definitely one of the really goods. And he was, one of the stars of the New York Rangers, and he was like considered sexy. He had this big, great, curly, long hair, and he was in this Jordache commercial back in the day. This
Mhm.
Jordache jeans commercial. Do you remember that? You're
I
probably
remember
too young.
Jordache jeans.
Yeah.
I don't remember that
So a bunch
commercial.
of New York Rangers were in this. Oh no, not Jordache jeans. Sassoon. Do you remember Sassoon jeans? Ooh
Mm-mm.
la la Sassoon. They were, or was that Jordan? I don't know, but they were all in this jeans commercial, skating in these tight jeans. And Ron Duguay was one of the guys, one of the athletes. So he was like a sex symbol, great guy supposedly. And then I think he moved to L.A. and now supposedly he's battling cancer, and I think I heard that it's also colorectal cancer that he's battling too right now. Um, and I don't know more of the disease, but to me, I heard about Ron Duguay, and that was kind of my youth in the New York Rangers.
Oh yeah, sorry, I must have missed that text. I don't know anything about his like what stage he's on or what he shared, but I guess is he sharing it to just let people
I
know get checked, or
Yeah,
just
I think so. I think he's also trying to raise awareness and help himself too. I think he maybe even has a GoFundMe page. I'm not totally sure.
okay,
Um, but I saw a social media post about him.
okay. Well, I hope he beats it. So, yeah, I didn't see that. I saw about Eric Dane, which I feel like
Eric
he
Day.
just came out that he had ALS, but I guess who knows how long he's had it? I don't really know, but he seemed to die really soon. But
Really soon.
yeah,
I agree. Like it seemed like he just talked about it maybe a year or two ago at the most.
yeah,
So it
yeah,
seems
a year ago
really,
at the most. I feel.
yeah. And it seems really sudden and it's definitely really sad. And he was also a sex symbol from Grey's Anatomy. From
Yeah,
he was
McSteamy.
McSteamy, not McDreamy, but he was McSteamy from Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah,
And then the younger kids know him from Euphoria.
right.
He
Yeah,
was
I
the
can't believe.
scary dad from Euphoria.
Yeah, he finished the last season, so I guess you can see him in that.
Yeah, yeah. Because my kid, I told my kid, my youngest, who's turning 20 soon, I said, "Oh yeah, we're doing podcasts talking about recent illnesses and deaths," and she goes, "Oh yeah, the guy from from Euphoria." She didn't say
Euphoria.
Grey's Anatomy. She said the guy from Euphoria.
Yeah, I mean, he was in Hits. I didn't watch it, but he was on the show that my father-in-law liked called The Last Ship. It was like on the USA Network, I think, for like ever, for a long
Right.
time. So,
I remember seeing that trailer,
mhm.
not the trailers, but like the posters for that or something. Yeah, that was out for a while too. Exactly.
Yeah, and something that seems too sad that I haven't been able to watch, but it's like in the Netflix top 10. I guess he did. I don't know if you consider it a documentary, or it's basically like a video to his daughters, telling them that he loves them, and like,
Wow.
yeah, it's like almost like his last words, I think, like, or not. I mean, obviously not. They were with him when he died, but
And
it's
they
like
they made that a show that they're
they.
posting.
It's it's something you can watch on Netflix. I guess he, did it to share with the world, but yeah.
I personally wanted to create a anybody listening who does this. If you do it, I'm going to come after you. I know. I wanted to create like an app, kind of uh, like a legacy app, kind of like a Facebook, but more kind of like what you said Eric Dane did, is like
Mhm.
have a way people could have their videos and things that they talk about their lives and stuff, and um, for their families, for friends. I wanted to
That's
create an
a
app
great
like that.
idea. So like anyone, yeah, I mean, I guess you could do that on social media, but I like your idea of making it a little bit different.
Yeah, it's like it's called legacy. It would be what I would call it.
Hmm.
CSEE, legacy. Um, and the goal would be, and you could even use it instead of needing a will. Like you say, okay, my diamond watch I give to my son Jojo,
Yeah.
and and I want you to know that um, I loved your mother very much. That kind of thing.
Yeah. Which would save you on lawyer's fees too. So that would
Right,
be nice.
exactly. And that you're not really my kid.
Tell them something terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I like that idea.
If anybody wants to build it with us,
Yeah.
come and call us, text us, email us, DM us.
Well, yeah. Well, obviously people are watching stuff like that because they're watching the Eric Dane thing. I can't handle it. I'm like, I would just cry. Like, I don't want to click on that, but
I will not be watching that.
yeah.
No.
But
Mm-mm.
so that was
But,
another sad death. But
but speaking of watching, I'm totally. I'm sure you have a whole plan, but I watched a movie. I watched two movies on planes, and I don't think I ever talked to you about them. And neither of them were amazing, but both of them were almost. And I gotta try to remember. I gotta Google, and I meant to talk to you.
one might be in my what we're watching list because I wrote down Ralph Lauren documentary. Is that one that
Oh,
you're about to say?
that's a third. That's okay. So now you just reminded me there are three.
Okay.
What is the name? Tom Hiddleston, right? The guy who plays Loki. Yeah. So one of them is a movie that he's in that
Okay.
was kind of but almost, called The Life of Chuck. I watched that on an
Hmm.
airplane. The Life of Chuck,
Okay.
and then
I
the
don't know
other
it.
one is um, Colin Farrell. And what's his movie? A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey with Margot Robbie. I watched those two movies on plane rides recently.
All right,
At different times.
let's get your airplane movie review.
And then I watched the Ralph Lauren documentary. Did you watch it?
No, you text me. That's all you wrote, Ralph Lauren documentary. So I thought I would have you talk about it. Should I watch it?
You should watch all three of those movies because the Ralph Lauren documentary I just think is fantastic. And I told my kids they need to watch it. And I think you should too. I just love the fact that this scrappy guy who had no fashion background or anything, but had a great fashion sense, became this icon, this huge Ralph Lauren,
Mm-hmm.
So I love that story, that just because of hard work and dedication and stick-to-itiveness, he did it. But the other thing I loved about the Ralph Lauren thing is that, and they mention it in the documentary, in the movie, is that he didn't care so much about the lines that, this season's lines. He cared about his brand, and he really wanted to stay true to the brand. And like if somebody gave him something that didn't seem like it was going to be true to the brand, but maybe would sell better, he was like, no. And he held to his guns. He stuck to his guns. And that authenticity and that just believing in himself and believing in his brand, I think is part of what made him so successful. But I think is important for me and you and our team to remember. The Gross Anatomy brand is to discuss the sights, smells, and sounds of medicine, how it relates to movies, TV, books, pop culture, and the world around. And I think it's important for us to stick to that brand because that's what excites the both of us about why we're doing this. So I really loved the Ralph Lauren movie because of that, because it rang true to me. Every time I have someone who comes to try to help and work on our social media and wants to do something else, I'm like, it's about the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And branding, as far as branding goes, yeah, I mean, you could tell when somebody's Ralph Lauren, like it's obvious.
Amazing. Yeah, I think you should watch the movie. I definitely recommend it. And then those other two movies, The Life of Chuck. I'm not necessarily a Tom how do you pronounce his name?
Is it Hiddleston? I don't know. I know who you're talking about though.
Yeah. Hiddleston. He plays Loki. He plays Loki in the DC in the Marvel movies.
Right.
There's just this one. There's this great scene in the movie, and it's an almost movie, and it's kind of a weird movie and kind of sad. But there are a few special scenes in that movie that just. I was like, this movie is almost. I mean, that's why it's right on Airplane and didn't really make it in the theaters, but it really is an almost. And so I think it's definitely a good Airplane movie. And the same thing with the Colin Farrell, Margot Robbie movie. It's very like A24-ish, kind of fantasy, kind of weird, wacky movie. But also it's an almost, and it's entertaining, and it's a really good Airplane movie.
I mean, those actors are great, so I would give that a shot.
Yeah, they're both beautiful.
Yeah, they are.
I'm chewing gum.
Okay, so those are good movie recs. I wanted to getting on our brand. Paul Thomas Anderson has been winning all these awards for writer director, one battle after another. And every time he's on stage, he always thanks Adam Somner, who died. It was his AD, his assistant director. It was also the assistant director. He was like the most in-demand AD. Like he did 12 films for like Steven Spielberg. He did films for Ridley Scott. And so I was like, well, what happened to him? I don't like immediately I'm thinking, did he commit suicide? I don't know why. That's just what I'm thinking. But no, he died. I think he was 57. He died from anaplastic thyroid cancer in November. So I guess it was after the movie came out, but he's not getting to see all the accolades and all the stuff. But Paul Thomas Anderson thanks him every time. It's a sad affair winning without him. But I was wondering if you could explain anaplastic thyroid cancer?
Yeah. So thyroid cancer, I tell all my patients, 90 to 95% of the time, thyroid cancer is very treatable, almost even curable. But about even less than 5%, a rare percentage of thyroid cancers are this thing called anaplastic thyroid cancer. So anaplastic thyroid cancer is basically, we have cells in our bodies. We have cells that are our skin cells. We have cells that are our gland cells. We have cells that are our heart muscle cells. Like, each cell is a specific type of cell for a specific part of our body. What anaplastic means is that cell of the cancer has become not recognizable, not identifiable. It's just this blob of a cell that's just growing and changing so quickly that it's not the heart cell. It's not the thyroid. It's this funky thing that's grown so fast that isn't identifiable and recognizable.
Okay.
And because of that, it's very aggressive, because it's kind of gone rogue and gone wild, but we don't have good treatments for it either. So those two things, it's gone rogue and becomes aggressive because it's this own evil entity that's now anaplastic, meaning it's not a recognizable, identifiable cell line.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in addition, we haven't been able to come up with any good treatments yet for these anaplastic cancers. They're also very rare. So in my life, I've probably, I've seen thousands of patients with thyroid cancer, thousands, and I've seen less than a handful of anaplastic thyroid cancers. And they tend to grow aggressively into the neck and area, and they tend not to be things that could be removed. And by the time people present, and they grow fast, and they're already invading and affecting the vocal cords and growing into the trachea. And usually it's a very, unless, like, the weirdest thing is, occasionally you'll do surgery for someone like what you think is a routine cancer, or maybe just someone has a big thyroid, a goiter, and you take it out. And then the pathologist looks at it under the microscope and is like, oh my God, there's anaplastic cancer there. That patient maybe could be cured if you're doing it, if it's caught incidentally, luckily. And I remember having one patient like that, but it's rare.
Okay. So, well, hopefully they're still working on treatments. I don't know. Sometimes rare things, you wonder how fast they're working on treatments. They probably are. Hopefully. I don't know.
There's some stuff, but it's still not great, and it's usually just, giving people a little bit more time, maybe a couple more months. We're very not good with anaplastic thyroid. We're great with the other thyroid cancers, but we're terrible still with anaplastic thyroid cancer. That'll be a Nobel Prize if someone could come up with that.
I hope they do. I could tell, but when I said it, I was like, oh, this is a bad one. And then it sounds terrifying.
Yeah, it's bad.
But yeah, we've talked about thyroid cancer a lot, and that anaplastic part has never come up, I guess, because it's
so rare. Yeah, it's the rarest of them.
So that's really sad for him. And there's no rhyme or reason to why anyone would get that.
No rhyme or reason. Not at all. Not at all. It's pretty spontaneous.
I have a feeling Paul Thomas Anderson's going to thank him again at the Oscars. So
I still haven't seen that movie.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. Is there a reason you haven't? I think you would like it.
It seems too serious. It seems like too much like it takes itself too serious. But maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I haven't seen it.
I mean, it seems
long also. Isn't it long?
His movies are long, and he gets the crap for that, but I don't ever mind it.
Yeah. I don't know. It just seems intense, and lately I've just wanted fantasy.
No, I don't disagree with you, but like I think it's more fun than you're thinking. It's
okay.
A little bit fun.
All right, I'll give it a try.
But speaking
on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you give it?
I think I give it at least a 9, maybe a 10. Like, I love it.
Okay.
But
watch it.
But I'm also biased because I really like Paul Thomas Anderson films, and not everyone does. So I'm not sure where you fall.
I don't know. I'm not necessarily a Paul Thomas Anderson guy, but I'm also not a Paul Thomas Anderson guy.
All right.
So
Well,
I don't know.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I wouldn't want to watch it with you because
You would or would not?
I wouldn't, because I'm not sure what you're going to think about it, but I want to hear what you're going to think about it.
Right. Remind me, are you did we talk about the Uncut Gems? Did we talk about Uncut Gems?
We did, how it gave you such anxiety, right? Like that's why you don't want to watch Marty Supreme, because it's like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
didn't like it at all. Did you like Uncut Gems?
I didn't watch it. I know what happens. I didn't watch it because I thought it would give me too much
Yeah,
anxiety. Well,
I don't think you should watch it.
no, no, I'm not going to. Oh, you were saying you want to watch more fantasies. I just started one of our first podcasts. I feel like we started talking about Game of Thrones and how we were into like Game of Thrones and like the medicine they did in Game of Thrones. We did a fun podcast on that. But so from the Game of Thrones world is A Night of Seven Kingdoms. Have you seen this?
Is that a brand new thing?
Yeah, it's only 6 episodes and we're halfway through and it's pretty good. It's like, it just follows one guy this night.
Is
so
it is it a prequel or just a
So it
separate?
happens 80 years before the events in Game of Thrones. And it's just about this knight and like his journey to becoming a knight, I guess. And then,
But it has nothing to do with the whole dragon people. The what was that one? The House
well,
of Dragon.
I don't want to give anything away, but it
Okay,
is the
there's some
kingdoms do get
crossover.
brought up. Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay. I didn't even know that there was. I'm so unaware of stuff these days. So that I have to watch. You got to text me that to remind me.
Yeah, I only knew because I have a friend that's like been talking about it constantly, and then my dad said it was really good, so I was like, all right, and now we're into it. But it's only
Will you
6
text?
episodes. Yeah,
And it's a one and done, or is there going to be more?
there's gonna be more to hit.
Uh,
It's like Game of Thrones world, so there's gonna be death and stuff. So it's not like the lightest thing, but it's
Love it. We
yeah,
love Game of Thrones world as long as it's Game of Thrones.
exactly.
Yeah.
So and now we can get on to Parasites, because I don't know if you ever watched The Crown. Did you watch that show? It
We
was
did
like
watch some of The Crown. We never finished it, but yeah, we like The Crown.
yeah, so I like the first few seasons the best, and there was the actress that played the queen was Claire Foy, and
Yeah.
she recently came out and said that she had parasites for she thinks 5 years. She was losing all this weight. She thinks she got them in Morocco, but I guess she didn't want to take hardcore antibiotics to treat it. So she said she took all this little gross stuff and had to give up caffeine. And I guess that got rid of it. But I was like, how do you not how do you rid parasites? Like she had to take something, right?
Maybe. And it's not necessarily an antibiotic, it's an anti-parasitic medicine, an anti-helminth.
Uh,
Yeah. I don't know. There's a
Maybe
lot
she
of
took that and she didn't want to take like the follow-up stuff, but I guess she had to give up caffeine and change her whole diet to like
who knows. But I got to tell you the truth. Sometimes when people say they have parasites, they think they do, but maybe they don't. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know. Especially if she's cured and didn't take standard therapy. Although I'm not sure. I don't know.
I was wondering that too. But how can they just test your poop? Is that how they find out?
Well, it depends what kind of parasite and where it is. If it's a gastrointestinal parasite, yeah. And then
Yeah.
there's the common intestinal parasites, amoebiasis. People get that traveler's diarrhea. Sometimes is one of the parasites, but then there's crazy ones. There's the worm ones, and then there's ones that bury into your skin and really funky ones. That's the main reason why I went to Africa as a 4th-year medical student, because I wanted to go see parasitic diseases. So I spent 2 months in a mission hospital in Kenya, hoping to see cool parasites and stuff. And the truth is, I didn't see really. I saw a ton of malaria and a ton of typhoid, but I didn't see the weird, wacky parasites. Interestingly, I think I've told the story. I did have a patient when I was doing my residency at Kings County in Brooklyn who had the worm parasites called Ascaris, this young girl, and I had to collect her poop, which was just tangled with worms. And I had to bring it to the lab, which was way down the way. I had to walk it to the lab. every day, so that they could study it and see what the story was. That was cool. That was the coolest thing.
Well, it's funny that you say people think that they have parasites, because I have a friend who is a nurse, and she was, I don't know, maybe she had stomach problems, but she was insistent. She made the doctors test her twice, like her poop twice, and they're like, you don't have anything, you're fine. So, and she ended up being fine, but
yeah,
I guess you get stuff in your head, or you really think you have. I don't. In Claire Foy's case, it sounded like she really did have it, but I don't know. Yeah,
I've heard a lot of people think they have worms and parasites, and sometimes they do, but the truth is, I think a lot of times people, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I was just wondering your parasite experience, because as soon as I saw parasites and celebrity, I was like, I got to bring it up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Other than my time in Africa and my time in Kings County, I don't think I've seen any parasites here. I mean, there's a cool one called Dracunculus, and it sounds exactly, it's like a dragon head that burrows itself into your skin. And in order to get it out, you can't pull it out because it'll break off and reburrow. So I remember, I thought it was the coolest thing. You learn that you have to slowly twirl it like on a pen or a pencil, and slowly coax it out of your thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
And then there's parasites in the eyes. I mean, there's a lot of cool parasites that you could get.
Well, I feel like if it's a good storyline, the pit will pick it up. The pit.
Yeah.
The creator's probably listening to this. They're taking your stuff. The only other thing I wanted to say is Robert Duvall, who we both love from The Godfather, Apocalypse Now, is like two of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
I guess if we consider Godfather 1 and 2, 3 of my favorite movies. So I was looking him up, because we were going to get to the what are we going to watch section, which we kind of already covered. But I realized I don't think I've ever seen The Apostle. So I was going to add a Robert Duvall movie to my what to watch list.
I never did either. And I heard it's a really good movie, I think, right?
Yeah, he wrote and directed it. He was up for Academy Award, I think it was 1997. And I was like, well, who did he lose to? He lost to Jack Nicholson for As Good as It Gets.
I like that movie. I like
strong competition. Yeah.
You know what I liked about As Good as It Gets? I love the artwork in that movie.
I did too. All the characters are great in them.
But I love the actual art.
Yeah, I think Greg Kinnear, whoever did that art,
Well, he didn't do it. Whoever
did.
No,
I know. But I'm like, he played the artist.
Yeah.
And I remember, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a great movie too. I agree. That was a good movie, and the art was just beautiful. And as an art guy, I really liked watching it. The other movie that had art, I recently showed the trailer to, is Great Expectations. Just talking about cool art.
Ethan Hawke. Yeah.
That was just a beautiful movie with Gwyneth Paltrow and Ethan Hawke and De Niro.
Yeah, I've watched that so many times.
Me too.
It's beautiful.
Very cool. Anything else, Lauren Taylor?
No, that's all I got. Thanks for answering questions.
Good stuff. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this episode where we talked about a lot of fun stuff, a lot of sad stuff, a lot of serious stuff, a lot of death, a lot of illness, but parasites. We also talked about parasites.
That's it for this week. Thanks for listening to Gross Anatomy, and be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can check out more episodes on the evolving sights, smells, and sounds of medicine. Gross Anatomy is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.